What up, everybody? And welcome back to the Endzone. It's your boy here, Craig. And man, do we have an exciting week of football going on right now. Free agency officially opened yesterday. Today's Tuesday the 12th, and it has still been hitting hard. Players are getting signed and traded and released. It's just been so nuts over the last 2 days. So I want to jump right into it. But the first player I'm going to talk about is not someone who was released, not someone who was traded, not someone who was signed. Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. After Jason Kelce announces his retirement, he now announces his. So two of the best guys they have on either side of the ball on the line have just retired. Believe me, they have made some acquisitions to kind of fill these holes. How well these holes get filled, I'm not really sure. But Fletcher Cox decides to retire, and this is a little bit of a blow. This guy was a Pro Bowler and a high-level defensive tackle, a dangerous man in the middle, and so it was a pleasure to watch him play. We thank him for his services, and best wishes to Fletcher Cox and in the future. But let's talk about some of these acquisitions, man. Some of them very exciting. Some of them, just okay. And some of them we're just going to have to just mention to mention. We start on the list with Zach Ertz, longtime tight end of the Philadelphia Eagles, then to the Arizona Cardinals, and has just been moving, played for one or two other teams, and has now signed a one-year deal with the Washington Redskins. The Washington Commanders. Washington Redskins. So that's pretty cool. Washington definitely needs help in the tight end position. I believe that they let Logan Thomas go, so they don't really have anybody at that spot. Zach Ertz can come in. He played very well last year. Let's not take anything away from him. He is getting older, but he's still playing at a relatively good level. I would say definitely top 20 tight end at this point. Next, we have Mitch Trubisky signing back with the Buffalo Bills after having a small stint with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He will now back up Josh Allen. Jonnu Smith to Miami on a one-year deal, which was a move that I loved. I talked about this previously. I thought Jonnu Smith fit in great with that offense. He's probably one of the faster tight ends in the NFL. They were tight end needy. They don't really have anybody worth naming in the tight end position. So Miami signing Jonnu Smith, to me, was a great decision. How well it will work out, I think it's going to work out well enough. He can block, he can make big catches, and he's fast. Catch a screen pass and run in for a touchdown. We saw it last year. Jerry Jeudy traded from the Denver Broncos for a second. I forgot what pick it was. But anyway, Jerry Jeudy traded to the Cleveland Browns for 2 picks. What 2 picks that are, I can't really say for right now. But this is kind of like and it's not a very exciting trade. Jerry Jeudy has not played very well in the time that he's been in the NFL. At one time, he was drafted over Justin Jefferson and has not performed, has definitely been very injury prone. So as for depth to Cleveland, yeah, it's cool. I'm pretty sure they didn't give up anything substantial for him. But it's kind of a lateral move. I don't know if I like it. Let's see how it plays out in the season. Mac Jones traded from the Patriots to the Jacksonville Jaguars to back up Trevor Lawrence for a 6th-round pick. Now, not that I believe Mac Jones is anything, worthy of much, but I would have thought at least a 5th-round pick. But, his time in New England is over. He has one more year on his rookie deal, so he's going to play that out in Jacksonville. If Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, Mac Jones will get an opportunity to showcase his skills and quite possibly get signed to a deal next year with a different team and maybe try to earn a starting position. But as of right now, Mac Jones is a backup. Kevin Byard signs a deal to go to Chicago. Baker Mayfield Let's give this man his flowers. He signs a 3-year, $100 million deal with the Buccaneers with, I believe, $50 million guaranteed. He secured the bag. The man bet on himself, signed a 1-year deal, and showed that he can not only win games, but he can not only make the playoffs, but win a playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles, previous year's Super Bowl contenders. So I think this is great for Baker. I think he's got back to playing football, enjoying the game, and believing in himself. I think he had a bad, what's the word for it? I think he just didn't handle being number 1 overall pick, going to Cleveland, and all this praise, commercials, and blah, blah. He shut off all the noise. He's been humbled. He took it and said, I'm going to get back to playing football. And the coaching staff there was the right coaching staff for him, and he got his money. So congrats to Baker Mayfield on this 3-year deal, and I hope he earns it. I hope that Baker Mayfield is the Baker Mayfield he was supposed to be. Big move. Russell Wilson signs to the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 1-year veteran minimum because he's still getting $39 million from the Broncos this year. So, like I said before, I told you guys, I called this. I said Russell Wilson to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I said they'd sign him at a song. Ain't no prettier a song than the veteran million, 1-point-something mil. It's nothing. They don't even have to use Russ, and it won't even be a waste of money. You got yourself a potential starter or one hell of a backup. Kenny Pickett now has competition. He'll either do one or two things. He'll elevate his game, step up to the plate, and be the first-round quarterback he was supposed to be, or he'll fall short, Russell Wilson will step in, and we're not calling Russell Wilson the Superman coming in to save the day. That ain't happening. But I do believe his quarterback play is better than Kenny Pickett. I do think that he can get the ball to his receivers. I do think he could still make time with his feet, and I think he can win games. I think he can win more games than Kenny Pickett, get into the playoffs and potentially win a playoff game. Can he get you to a bowl game? That I can't be sure of. They've added some other pieces, and maybe they're a team that can make the Super Bowl. They definitely have, on defense, a lot of Super Bowl-worthy pieces. They have a very good offense. They have players that can make plays, but they have players that are not playing for the team, more playing for themselves. If they can get this team to rally behind Russell Wilson, sky's the limit. Michael Pittman, who was previously franchise tagged, has signed a 3-year, $70 million deal. So big ups to Michael Pittman securing the bag and becoming the franchise wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. And a cool move. I like this move. I'm not saying it's a great move. I just like this move. DeAndre Swift signs a 3-year, $24 million deal to go to Chicago. Chicago's run game was suspect. Khalil Herbert, every single football analyst I listen to is always praising Khalil Herbert. And I'm not saying Khalil Herbert's not a good running back. I'm just saying Khalil Herbert ain't never going to be on the field long enough to be good enough to say he's our number one back. So whether or not they keep him on their team is a moot point to me. DeAndre Swift is going to come in, and he's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to run the ball behind a pretty good offensive line, middle of the pack. I believe that they're going to address it and make it better throughout the draft. But they got a middle of the pack offensive line, and DeAndre Swift proved last year, obviously behind a better offensive line, the best or at least top 3 offensive line in the NFL. So yes, he's not going to be as dynamic as he was coming through the middle as he was in Philly, but he's still going to be good. He's still an excellent running back, but you're going to be able to be Caleb Williams' security blanket. He's going to get checkdowns all day. DeAndre Swift is a pass-catching running back. That's where his skill set is the greatest. And We ain't talking about a small back. You saw how big he looked in Philly. And I think he is going to be the guy who is going to help get Caleb Williams to that place he needs to be. And having DeAndre Swift as a check down receiver, I love that move. So then we move on. Jonathan Greenard signs with Minnesota. And then in a surprise kind of meh move, Tony Pollard signs to Tennessee. For Tony Pollard, this makes absolutely no sense. It is not a good landing spot for him. One, Tennessee's O-line is sus. Probably the worst, if not top 3 worst O-lines in the NFL. Of course, they're going to address it. Of course, they're going to add pieces. But I don't know. I think Tony Pollard would have been better served on a team that had a better O-line. I actually thought he would have been the running back to sign to Philly or a team like Chicago, but he signs to Tennessee. And it's also disappointing because I thought this was going to be the year that Tajay Spears would lead this backfield. Now maybe it's going to be a 1-2 punch. Maybe Tony Pollard is the pass catcher and Tajay Spears is the one in first and second down back. Maybe that's what happens. I'm not really sure. I don't love this move, but it's not terrible. We're going to have to see how it plays out. If you play fantasy football, drafting Tajay Spears is probably going to be a better move than drafting Tony Pollard, because Tajay Spears knows what it's like to play behind this line. And Tony Pollard, even with a good O-line last year, albeit off of an injury, he didn't play so well. Gabe Davis signs a 3-year deal to go to Jacksonville, and I absolutely hate this move. I don't like Gabe Davis. He's a one-trick pony. I feel like Gabe Davis is the wide receiver who signs to a team like Minnesota, a team like Cincinnati. A team that's already stacked at wide receiver, but can use that one guy who can stretch the field, take the top off. But it doesn't really make as much sense for him to go to a team like Jacksonville, who's yet to secure the number 1 guy. I mean, it could work out, but we'll see how it plays. Christian Wilkins. Miami lets Christian Wilkins walk, which to me was a huge mistake. But Las Vegas says, you know what? Come on over here. 4 years, $110 million. We love it. So Las Vegas adds a great player to their roster. Miami loses one. Probably for me, the second biggest surprise for a landing spot that I actually love. Josh Jacobs to the Green Bay Packers. I said that Green Bay needed a nice young running back. I kind of thought that they'd make a play for Jonathan Taylor or even a guy like Tony Pollard. But to go after Josh Jacobs and to make that signing, 4 years, something like $48 million, $12 million a year, I love the move. Josh Jacobs to Green Bay is exactly what they needed. They have their receivers. They got their tight ends. They got their franchise quarterback. They got a good defense. And then you go ahead and you add Josh Jacobs, top 10 running back in the NFL. Argue with me. Prove me wrong. I think he's going to come in and he's going to be the difference maker. He is going to be what they needed Aaron Jones to be, what they thought A.J. Dillon could be. He's a 3-down back. I think that they still need to make a move and get themselves another guy. I think they can address it in the draft, and I love them addressing it in the draft because you have a young team. Josh Jacobs is still young. I think that you add another young piece, someone who can also catch passes out of the backfield, and, man, Green Bay is that division is getting insanely tough. So Green Bay is keeping up with the pack. I love this move. Next, we have Bryce Huff to Philly. Jets don't re-sign him, and he moves on, and he's now with Philly. Great move. I love it. Philly's defense, takes a big hit losing Fletcher Cox. You bring in Bryce Huff, and it kind of fills that slot. Whew, boy, here's another big one. This is a move that I kind of anticipated. I talked about it on the show. He was 1 or 2 players I expected to go to this team, and he ended up being what I believe the better move, Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. Now, I also like Justin Fields. Mine's all over the place. It's been crazy, crazy 2 days. So, Kirk Cousins is 100% giving Atlanta their best chance to win if he's 100%. If he's not 100%, I don't know how well this is going to work out. If I'm Atlanta, I'm either going to try to draft a quarterback or you need to find someone to back up Kirk Cousins because it can't be Desmond Ridder and it cannot be Taylor Heineke. Like, these guys didn't do it for you. And if Kirk Cousins get hurt, you need someone who's going to come in and do right by the team. I personally like the idea of drafting J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix. But with that being said, Kirk Cousins signs a 4-year deal, something like $100 and something million. He got his bag. 4 years with Atlanta. He gives them a chance to win. I believe that everybody's stock rises. I believe Atlanta's defense stock rises. Bijan Robinson is going to win the rushing title. Drake London, top 15 wide receiver this year. Michael Pittman, top 10 tight end. And just because I'm going to turn the page just to kind of bring it up, they also signed Darnell Mooney to a 3-year, $30 million deal. Darnell Mooney was the perfect piece to add to this offense. Once again, a fast wide receiver who could take the top off. Drake London, the big-bodied receiver. Kyle Pitts, the super athletic, should be a giant wide receiver, but is just a slim, fast, highly athletic tight end, and one of the best running backs in the NFL. Plus, you have a number one caliber backup tight end in Tyler Algier. If I'm Atlanta, I might even try to make a trade for Algier. I think there are teams who need running backs that you could probably get a decent pick for him. But if you keep him, it's still great. Atlanta will win the division this year unless Tampa Bay or the Saints make some disgustingly huge moves, which I don't see it happening. Atlanta's going to win this division easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I love this move. I like Kirk Cousins. He's a locker room guy. I think he can rally this team, and I think that it's going to be amazing football to watch. You know, it's not what he had in Atlanta, but it's not so far off either. The run game is definitely way better, so you're going to be able to take a little bit off Kurt. And the O-line is also better. You're going to be able to give him time to throw the ball as well. I love it. Then, to me, is the biggest free agency signing that happened. Saquon Barkley, in a shocking move, signs a 3-year, $37.75 million deal with Philly. Woo! This is awesome. I personally would have loved him going to Houston. I said I wanted him in Houston. I thought that was the ideal landing spot. He still keeps red, white, and blue, and it just seemed like a great move. But to move into another team in your division so you could play him twice a week, that's revenge. And it's serving up cold, baby. And I am here for it. I think it is an excellent move by both parties. I think behind that O-line, as long as they get that center to replace Jason Kelce, you got the best O-line in the business. I'm talking vintage Saquon Barkley. No need for the tush-push, but it will still be there, but it won't be needed. Saquon Barkley with them tree trunk legs is going to be running it down. They still have Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott in the backfield, so he's not going to need to do all the work, but he can catch passes. He can run it up the middle. He can do it all. He's going to have his best year yet in Philly. That's my belief. I ain't calling it, but that's my belief. I think you're going to see vintage Saquon Barkley, and Philly it's going to resurge Philly. It's going to bring back Philly to that winning mentality. I think Saquon Barkley is going to come in as an outside, hitting the mic, coming back as an outside party and saying, listen, I came here to win. Let's cut the BS and let's get back to dubs. I want a ring. I think it's very much possible, and I love this move. Saquon Barkley to Philly. Nice. Aaron Jones, after the signing of Josh Jacobs, is released by Green Bay, signs a 1-year deal with Minnesota. Another running back signing with a interdivisional team, and I love it, and I'm here for it once again. Aaron Jones, he still has a little bit left in the tank. I don't love him, but he's better than anything that they've had since a full-strength Dalvin Cook. So Aaron Jones to Minnesota is what they need. They need somebody who can take that work, who can put on that work. First and second down, they still got Ty Chandler. Nice, fast, pass-catching running back. So this is a good little 1-2 punch here. I like it. Aaron Jones isn't going to have to do all the work. They can split time together. These guys are probably not going to be fantasy relevant. So if you are like me and you're a fantasy guy, I'm telling you right now, stay away. Don't do it to yourself. Then we have Robert Hunt, another player. Miami allowed to walk away. Signs with Carolina on a 5-year, $100 million deal. Excellent move by Carolina. They are shoring up positions that need to be shored up. Only thing they're not addressing is the wide receiver position, which is mind-boggling to me. But whatever. They're making acquisitions, and they're doing things that need to be done. Devin Singletary to the New York Giants is a move that I like. I have a segment at the end of this show that I'm going to talk about the Giants and what I think they need to do this year. And signing Devin Singletary is the first piece of that pie. When I saw this move, it inspired me more to elaborate on this move that I think the Giants need to make this year. So Devin Singletary to the Giants on a 1-year deal. On a 1-year deal. That works for me. Another move I love, the magic mustache. Gardner Minshew signs a 2-year, $25 million deal to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is excellent. Gardner Minshew, one of the best backups in the NFL. So, this means one or two things in my mind. The Raiders are either hoping to bring along Aiden O'Connell while Gardner Minshew takes the start until they get him to a place where they believe he's ready to go. I don't believe he's going to be ready to go. Jimmy Garoppolo, done. That experiment's over. I don't know if they've released him, but if they haven't, they should, and I hope that they do. Jimmy Garoppolo is a backup somewhere, probably the Jets or something like that. Or Atlanta. I like Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup in Atlanta. But I think the Raiders could try to make a push to draft a quarterback this year. Aiden O'Connell, he's never going to be your franchise quarterback. And if you think you can grab one of these guys and let him work behind Gardner Minshew for a year or two, I love that move. I love the magic mustache. He is entertaining football. He plays fearless. He plays fun. He airs it out. He gives you everything you want. He gives you a show. He's even going to give you interceptions for the fun of watching a defense run it back, you know? Like Gardner Minshew gives you everything that you love to watch in football. He scrambles, throws it deep, and just plays hard football. Fearless football. He's not afraid, and I love it. I never want to see a year where Gardner Minshew doesn't get to play football. I'm just excited by the guy. Moving on. Brian Burns gets traded to the Giants for a second and a fifth and then signs a 5-year, $150 million deal. Good on the Giants. Shore up that defense this year. That's the 100% what Giants should be doing this year is solely working on defense. Forget the offense. I'll get to that later. Devontae Parker signs a 1-year, fully guaranteed $4.69 million deal with Philly. I don't hate this move. You have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. And then everybody else in between has been kind of sus. Devontae Parker is a guy who likes catching, who can catch contested passes. So I don't hate this move. It's a 1-year deal. See how it plays out. If he remains healthy, great. And if he doesn't, you didn't spend too much on him. 4.5, almost $5 million, in the NFL. That's really not too much. Let's see. Did anything happen? Oh, Colts signed Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter. Excellent move. Colts defense definitely needs help, and Danielle Hunter could be that for them, so I like that. Got to keep the phone out today. Got to keep it going because you never know what moves they're going to be making. The Colts also signed Kenny Moore, made him the highest paid nickelback in NFL history. Boom. Live news coming to you. So a lot of good stuff going on in the NFL right now. Next, we have Gerald Everett. This is a huge surprise. I think I know what this means. But Gerald Everett signs a 2-year, $12 million deal with Chicago. I love this move because now they got the 2 tight end set. Cole Kmet on one side, Gerald Everett on the other. For some reason, Robert Tonyan forgot how to play football, right? Caleb Williams, he's going to need as many weapons as possible. Gerald Everett, an experienced veteran, is definitely going to come in and be helpful right away. So I love this move, which also means I believe that the Chargers are making a play for Brock Bowers. I think they're going to trade that 5 pick to move down, get some draft capital, and add Brock Bowers with a later pick. I see it happening. I think they're going to make a trade with a team like the Vikings or the Broncos so they can go ahead and grab either Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, whoever they believe is the best available. Pittsburgh Steelers add Patrick Queen. They sign him to a 3-year, $41 million deal. I love this move. Pittsburgh Steelers are a defense-first team. But you got your offense put together. You got Russell Wilson. You got the competition with Kenny Pickett, which is going to rise the abilities of these guys up. They're either going to rise to the occasion or one of them's going to fall. They got the offense right where they need it to be. Maybe some offensive line help in the draft. But now you add Patrick Queen, a linebacker who was definitely making strides last year. I think this is great. Now I'm brain farting on the coach's name. You got a defensive-minded coach who is Mike Tomlin. Thank you. Goodness gracious. Mike Tomlin, a defensive coach, is definitely going to help Patrick Queen find his best self. Next we have Austin Eckler to the Washington Commanders. This move blew my mind. I did not see this coming 100%. I thought Austin Eckler would go to a team like Minnesota, like Miami. No, excuse me, not Miami. That's a stupid move. Buffalo or something. I thought he'd go somewhere where he would have an instant chance of possibly getting himself a ring. But the move to the Commanders, it makes all the sense in the world. Austin Eckler does not want to be a downhill, north-south back. He wants to be what Tony Pollard was on the Cowboys. Pass-catching, playmaking, running back. And with Brian Robinson and the fact that they moved on from Antonio Gibson, this makes perfect sense. It's a match made in heaven, a 1-2 punch. This is one of the few fantasy running back duos that I would draft in fantasy. I think these guys are going to do well. They're going to have either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. They have weapons. I think this makes a whole lot of sense. I like this move. It's not great for Austin Eckler as much as it is for Brian Robinson. Jacoby Brissett has come home. Like I said, I told you guys, Jacoby Brissett to the New England Patriots, 1-year, $8 million deal. Loving it. Because even if we decide to move off of a quarterback, if we don't get Jaden Daniels and we don't like Drake May and we decide to go Marvin Harrison Jr. and we get some other weapons in place, Jacoby Brissett could come in this year and just keep us in the hunt. I'm not asking Jacoby Brissett to come in and be the franchise quarterback. That's not going to happen. But if we don't get what we need this year, he can get us to next year. He can make us competitive. And he can rally the locker room. He is a mentor. And I love this move. I was hoping that this is what would happen, and it came to fruition. I'm calling shots all day long. So now we have Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was about to be released from the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Then all of a sudden, Houston comes in and says, whoa, 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 whoa. We want him. We don't want anybody else. We don't want to get into a bidding war. We want to trade for him, and then we could see how it plays out, and then we can work out a deal later. And I love it. If you ain't getting Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon is not necessarily the next best thing, but this is a guy who has been relatively consistent in the NFL. He is not, I don't think he's a top 10 guy. I think he's a top 20 guy. And I think on this team, where he's not going to be required to be that workhorse running back, I think he's going to excel. I think this is going to be an excellent landing spot for him with a rising star QB, a plethora of weapons. They're probably going to add something in the draft. I love this move. They're going to shore up this offensive line. It's going to be excellent. This team needed a running back to get them through some more playoff games and possibly to a bowl game, and I think Joe Mixon can make that happen. In a lesser move, Tyrod Taylor signs with the New York Jets. This makes excellent sense. I love this move, but it's not a huge move, but I love this move. They needed a backup quarterback. We all know Zach Wilson ain't it. We all know Tim Boyle ain't it. In comes Tyrod Taylor, a guy who can come in and just throw the ball to his receivers. It's good. It's nice. I like it. Next, Sam Darnold signs with the Minnesota Vikings on a 1-year, $10 million deal. This is fair news. It is a good move for Sam Darnold. Could he be this year's Baker Mayfield or this year's Geno Smith or whatever the case may be? Very possible. He's got wheels. He has an arm. He showed some talent with no weapons. He's played for bad teams. Now you put him on a team where he has the best wide receiver in the NFL, one of the best rookie wide receivers from last year, a decent run game with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, okay offensive line. Man, I feel like you're setting them up to win. If you don't succeed here, you might want to check the UFL out, because you could probably be a star there. So I like this move because this move says, is Sam Darnold the guy? Or is he just a backup? It says it all. It also says that there's a possibility that the Minnesota Vikings are making a play for the likes of Michael Penix or Bo Nix. Or maybe one of these other guys, you know. I can't remember what that dude was, the black dude with the braids who threw the 70-yard bomb, but maybe they're looking to grab a guy like that and build him up behind Sam Darnold. I don't know, but I like this move. Next, we have Mike Gesicki to Cincinnati. Excellent move. A lot of good moves. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty happy about all this stuff. I'm a fantasy football guy. Mike Gesicki to the Cincinnati Bengals is a good move. He is a tight end who is better off as a wide receiver. He's not a good blocker, but he can catch passes. Joe Burrow, best guy to throw to catch passes from. So I love it. I think it will work out for him, but only time will tell. Marcus Mariota signs a 1-year deal with the Washington Redskins to back up whatever quarterback they end up drafting. Cool. It is what it is. Whatever. Once again, another guy who's moving in division. Last year with Philly, now he's with Washington. I already told you Darnell Mooney signs a 3-year deal with Atlanta, a move that I'm absolutely in love with. Darnell Mooney will become fantasy relevant again, and he will help bolster this team offensively. Oh, do we got another move? Commanders signed Jeremy Chins to a 1-year, $5.2 million deal. Cool. Nothing major. Then we have Shaq Barrett to Miami. This is a great move for Miami. 1-year, $9 million deal. Shaq Barrett is a great defensive lineman, and they absolutely need help on the defensive line because Bradley Chubb got hurt at the end of the season in January. So he ain't going to be ready beginning of the season. In comes Shaq Barrett. And then once Bradley Chubb is fully healthy, that D-line is going to be dangerous. Hunter Henry re-signs with New England. Another move I love, I told you guys I wanted Hunter Henry back because he's a nice red zone threat. And if we get a young quarterback, if we get a rebuilding quarterback, say we get Justin Fields loved Cole Kmet. He will love Hunter Henry. Irv Smith Jr., who has not worked out since getting drafted by Minnesota in the first round, went to Cincinnati, got hurt again. He's the guy who just gets hurt. This is his last chance, in my opinion. He signed with Kansas City Chiefs. Homeboy said, you know what? If I ain't going to play no real football, at least maybe I can get a ring. He signs with Kansas City on a one-year deal. And like I said, this is probably his last opportunity. But if he can remain healthy, there is no team that can revitalize your career like Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So best of luck to Irv. See if he can make it happen. Antonio Gibson to New England. Now, I was really hoping we would keep Ezekiel Elliott, and maybe we still will. I don't know. It's on the table. But Antonio Gibson, it's cool. He's a pass catcher. He can come in, he can get the job done. And hypothetically speaking, if we don't get Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevens went down, we all know Antonio Gibson can still run the ball. So it's a cool move. If we draft a rookie wide receiver, he can make for a good security blanket. But Stevenson can catch passes. But just like Austin Eckler, Ramondre Stevenson doesn't want to be the workhorse back. So it's a cool move. Jameis Winston to Cleveland. Cleveland does need backup. You know, they didn't have any. They went through like 4 quarterbacks last year. So Jameis Winston usually stays healthy. So as a good backup, that makes sense. I like it. It's not terrible. Zach Moss to Cincinnati was I guess an okay move. You know, they get rid of Joe Mixon. Who's John? I think I was going to say John Ross. He did play for Cincinnati. So, Joe Mixon gone. You have some young boys who did some work last year, but you bring in Zach Moss. Zach Moss was awesome on the Colts last year. I mean, if you had him in fantasy, he was a league winner all up until Jonathan Taylor came back. So, that being said, I got to assume he'd be good in Cincinnati. But Cincinnati needs to shore up that O-line because if Joe Burrow's getting hurt, it won't matter who Zach Moss is. So, and if there's no O-line to run behind, Zach Moss ain't going to do anything anyway. So, if they could shore up this offensive line, I think Zach Moss will do well in Cincinnati. But we'll see how it plays out. Geno Stone also signs to Cincinnati on a one-year, $3 million deal. And Drew Lock signs with the Giants, a move that I love. And I'm going to get to that real shortly. But the last move, and I kind of got ahead of myself. Had a little brain fart. This is the biggest move that happened, and it literally happened about a few hours before I came into the studio. Derrick Henry signs with the Baltimore Ravens on a 2-year, something like up to $20 million deal. I think it's like 18 with incentives up to 20. And I said, Derrick Henry to Baltimore made the most sense, right? And once again, I'm making the future happen, fellas. So, what does this mean for Baltimore? This means that they have a dynamic run game. Hunter Henry. Why am I brain farting all day? So, Derrick Henry on Baltimore is going to make defenses completely flabbergasted. They're not going to know what to do. Is it Derrick Henry? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Keaton Mitchell? You ain't going to know. Derrick Henry is a beast. He's not slowing down. Yes, he's a little long in the tooth, but man, the boy can still run. And when he gets going downhill, it's going to be impossible to stop him. So I am super excited to see how this plays out. Baltimore has not had a run game. And please, football gods, do not let Baltimore be a curse for running backs. Please don't let Derrick Henry get hurt. Baltimore has had the worst luck with running backs getting hurt, and I hope this doesn't fall on Derrick Henry. But if Derrick Henry is healthy in Baltimore, I can't see Baltimore not going to the bowl game. Only thing Baltimore has to do is draft one of these rookie wide receivers and hit it right. hit it right, and it's bowl game, baby. That you guys didn't have a run game. You didn't have good enough wide receivers. You need to address that this year, and I think, like I said, it's Super Bowl time, baby. Derrick Henry in Baltimore is the move of the offseason. Calvin Ridley sitting around doing God knows what. It's between New England and Jacksonville. Calvin Ridley does seem to want to play more for Jacksonville, but is he going to go for the bag or is he going to go for the team he favors? Time will tell. Hopefully it will happen sooner rather than later. I'll be talking about it next week regardless, so we'll see how it plays out. Now, I don't got much time left, so I'm going to swing through these last two scenarios as fast as I can. New England. If they can get Jaden Daniels at 3, it's a must. But if they can't, right? I talked about this last week, but I kind of felt like I bounced around too much. I didn't give a clear-cut idea of what I want to see happen in New England. So let's talk about what I want. At number 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's get him, right? Trade a number 3, a number 4, a number 5, whatever, and grab Justin Fields. Whatever you got to pay, hopefully it's not more than a 4. Get Justin Fields in, right? You got Jacoby Brissett, get Justin Fields. Then trade with the Giants for that number 6 pick. Give them next year's first, give them this year's second, and the 6 that you got for Mac Jones, and maybe even throw in Kyle Duggar, the safety, or Juju Smith-Schuster, something. Throw something else in to entice the deal for that number 1 pick and draft a Dunze. We'll get the top 2 of the top 3 wide receivers on the same team with Justin Fields and Jacoby Brissett. We got Hunter Henry. We'll get another tight end. I'm not worried about it. This makes so much sense to me. And I think if you give Justin Fields these weapons and you get the right offensive coordinator, which we have a good one, I think that we can make this work. Or trade back up, maybe not with the Giants, maybe with a lesser pick, and get Michael Penix and sign Calvin Ridley. Any one of these moves that has Marvin Harrison, Calvin Ridley or Odunze, Justin Fields. This is all saying that we don't get Jaden Daniels. I'm not a fan of Drake May. I don't think it's worth spending the draft capital on Drake May. We might even be able to not have to trade up to get Michael Penix. I think there's a possibility of getting Michael Penix with the 3rd pick in the 2nd round. I'm not really sure, but if we can get him in the 2nd round, great. If we can't, I think we need to trade up to get him so that way we can have 2 high-level wide receivers on either side of the ball. Now, I don't know what that's about. So now let's talk about the Giants. I think this is the year the Giants need to tank. Tank it, baby. Get that number 1. Trade your 1st-round pick for a 1st round next year. Then you get that number 1 overall pick. You got 2 1st-round draft picks. Get a 2nd from us this year. Shore up that defense. Maybe draft whatever you want. Defense, O-line, whatever. I would say O-line. You shore up that O-line, whatever quarterback you get next year, number 1 overall, it's going to help them for sure. Get these bums. Sign bums. You already got Devin Singletary. Bring on Alexander Madison. Bring in these guys, Josh Reynolds. Just get the Land of Misfit Toys and play Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito is the show right now. He's a star. He's made himself a star. He's not great. He's a dog, though. He plays hard football. Let him earn his backup role, right? Just play it out. Let it happen. He's going to make all these cool little plays. He's going to do all this fun stuff. Let Daniel Jones sit in the back. Trade Daniel Jones. Trade Daniel Jones to Indy to back up Anthony Richardson. That's a great landing spot for him because there's similarities in their game. They're athletic running quarterbacks. Send them to Indy. I would have said send them to Cleveland, and I'd still say it, even with Jameis Winston there, send him to Cleveland. He's a great backup. Baltimore, same thing. He's a running quarterback. They won't have to change their game up too much if Lamar Jackson goes down. Send him to Carolina. we all know Bryce Young's small. He can get hurt. So if he gets hurt, in comes Daniel Jones. You know, Andy Dalton's old. Bring in Daniel Jones. Send him there. Get a fourth or whatever, third, whatever pick that he could get you. But trade your first round pick for draft capital for this year and next year. And build your O-line, build your defense, and then next year sign some free agent wide receivers. Draft that quarterback or sign a free agent quarterback that becomes available next year that people don't want to pay money for. Whatever the case may be, this is your year to tank and go for the gold. Get everything you need this year on defense and O-line, and next year you get your free agent running back, your free agent quarterback, or your number one overall pick quarterback, whatever the case may be. But this is the perfect year to tank. And if you play Tommy DeVito, it makes your games exciting. People are going to be talking about it just like they did last year. I love it. Give me Tommy D, baby. The Guido is here, and I'm here for it. I love it. I think it makes the most sense. Oh, wide receiver Brandon Powell is returning to the Vikings on a one-year deal. Cool. And then the last thing, I think I got a couple minutes I could speak on it, right? Miami. Listen to me now. Hear me out. You signed Jonnu Smith. That was a great decision. Do not waste a draft pick on anybody but Xavier Worthy. He is the fastest wide receiver at the combine. His route running is great, or at least good. If you sign him right now, he is going to replace Jalen Waddle when it comes time to sign that contract. I don't believe you want to sign Jalen Waddle to an extended deal. And if you do, you'll still have Xavier Worthy on a rookie deal for the next 4 years, and you can get his fifth-year option if he's working out. You're the fastest offense in the NFL. You're making good moves on your free agent signing. Shore up that O-line and get Xavier Worthy. I think it is the smartest decision that you guys can make as a franchise, and I think that he could just be what you already are. Do not let Xavier Worthy get signed to Kansas City. If Xavier Worthy goes to Kansas City, mark my words, he's going to be a star. Will he be a star for you? I don't know. I'm not saying that. But if he goes to Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, he is going to be Tyreek Hill. 100%. He's going to be Tyreek Hill. He's faster. He's taller. He's probably just as good of a route runner. Don't let it happen. For the rest of you teams that are drafting after 15, between 15 and 31, someone better draft Xavier Worthy. Because if you don't and he goes to Kansas City, they going to three-peat this year. I promise you. It's a done deal. If Xavier Worthy goes to Kansas City, he's going to make them even more of a problem than they already were. So you heard it here first, guys. Miami should draft Xavier Worthy, but if they don't, someone from 15 to 31 better get him. Baltimore, come on, baby. You hurting that wide receiver, you can get a free guy. Go and grab him. Get that free guy. Don't let him go to Kansas City. I'm telling you that right now. All right, guys, that's all I have for you this week. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel, GYMBAG Entertainment. Check me out on Spotify, GYMBAG Entertainment, to listen to the Endzone and Tail of the Tape. And next week, I think we got AC Johnson coming back to return to his role as my co-host. Excited for it. We talked about it the other day. He was trying to make it this week, but he had a prior engagement. So we might have him back. I don't know if we'll have him back every week, but I think he'll make some appearances. We got a lot of stuff to continue to talk about. We're going to argue. We're going to be fighting about it. Me and him, sometimes we see eye to eye, sometimes we don't. I promise you, it's going to be exciting stuff. So until next week, enjoy free agency, and I'll see you on the End Zone. Good night.